common question that is asked, especially with beginners, is how should I practice? How should I structure my practice routines? What exercises should I do? Now, you can probably go onto YouTube and find countless exercises, probably more than you can handle. So that's not really what I'm here for today. Rather, I want to share with you the principles on how you can build your own routine, something that is tailored to you, tailored to your skill level, because ultimately living in that sweet spot where it's challenging but not too much is where you're going to see daily progress with your singing. This is how I structure my own practices. This is also how I structure practices with my students. Now, before we dive in, real quick for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom, and really on this channel my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. I do offer private lessons and also some self-study programs that you can work through at your own pace. Links are down in the description. Last but not least, if you want to inspire our next episode, drop down into the comments below what you want me to talk about next. So now let's actually talk about how to actually practice as a singer and how to build your own practice routine. So first of all, a key principle here that I've learned over the years is less is more. I remember when I used to practice, I would jump into YouTube, or if at the time I was working through a singing program, I'd go through that, and usually I'd be practicing for 45 to 60 minutes, and I'd be doing countless exercises for my routine. And whilst they were great exercises, personally, and maybe similar to some of you, I just felt overwhelmed. I just felt like I had to go through so much in order to see progress with my voice. And because I felt so overwhelmed, what actually ended up happening is, rather than learning from the exercises, learning how to do them well, I ended up just going through the motions and just doing the exercises. And really, this is not a great place to be, because it's really less about what exercises you do anyway, but more about how you do the exercises. What is the exercise trying to teach us? And so if you can handle a lot of exercises, more power to you. Now, personally, what has worked for me is focusing on less exercises, a few key exercises, and doing them well before I move on to something slightly more challenging or slightly harder. Okay, so now we know that less is probably more in the case of learning how to sing. How do we actually structure our practice routine? Like, what should you even be doing on a daily basis to make progress? I'll share the two principles, the two parts, and then I'll share some actual examples from my students so you can get a better idea. So the first part of your routine every single day should be establishing your home base. Now, what I mean by this is, where does your voice feel comfortable and easy to use? Where does it feel safe? And where does it feel reliable? These are going to be important questions when it comes to deciding what exercises you should be doing. Now, frankly, it can be as simple as a hum. Whatever gets your voice feeling easy, feeling comfortable, feeling safe, and feeling reliable, that is going to be a great place to start. Now, the caveat here is what feels easy, what feels comfortable, what feels reliable is going to be different for every single person, depending on where you're at, depending on where your skill level is. For example, some of us may find humming hard, right? Maybe we're humming and we just feel strained. We feel like it's not consistent. Then that might not be the exercise for you. Maybe you need to find something different, or maybe you need to find something even easier. And that's totally cool. Really, what we're doing here in step one is just, where do we find easy vocalizing? Now, once you've established your home base in terms of technique, you've found an easy, a reliable, kind of comfortable place. And really, it shouldn't take that long. It should only take a couple of minutes, because if it takes ages to find that feeling, then potentially those aren't your home base exercises. Once you have got this down, what I would recommend is you want to start venturing out and challenging your voice. Personally, I think, in a short 10 to 15 minute routine, you just want to choose one simple challenge for your voice, because of course you can do more, but it's better to get one exercise right than 5 wrong. Now, there's going to be a sweet spot to challenging your voice. Too easy and you won't see changes, you won't see progress. Too hard in terms of the exercises and your technique starts to fall apart, and the strain, all of these things start to kick in, and it's going to feel impossible. There is going to be a sweet spot to the challenges you design. Now, honestly, this is where a teacher can really help. Someone who knows your voice, knows where your skill level is at, and then they can tailor these things specifically to you. But if you don't have a teacher at the moment, here are some suggestions, some ways to start challenging your voice. Now, the first one here is challenging the coordination, which basically means, how easy can I make my voice feel? Because the more efficient your voice is, the more coordinated it is, usually it feels easier. Now, this means you have to kind of dive a bit deeper into some of the fundamentals of the voice, how the voice stretches, how the voice kind of presses together, those two main functions. I'm not going to dive into that in too much detail here. If you want more on that, check out episode 129 and 131, where I talk about it in more detail. But basically, you're just looking at, with some of the exercises that you can do as well, maybe even some parts of your singing, what little tweaks or changes can I do to make it feel even easier? The second thing you can do here is challenge your consistency. Now, this one is really simple. Basically, what it means is, see if I can do this exercise. Whoa, 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 whoa. I can do it easy. That feels easy. My technique feels pretty good here, but I can only maybe do it like 2 times in a row. Whoa, 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 and I kind of mess up on the third one. Then this is where challenging your consistency is going to be a good one. Can you do it maybe 3 times in a row? Maybe can you do it 5 times in a row? And then maybe, the day afterwards, can you do it 10 times in a row? Challenging your consistency is going to be a good one, assuming that you're already doing the exercise with pretty good technique. Now, the third one here is challenging exercises in a different context or maybe even a harder context. What I mean by this is if you can hit a scale with good coordination, it feels pretty easy and you can do it consistently, you can kind of get there again and again. You want to start playing around with, okay, can I do it with a repeat? Can I do it with a sustain? Can I do it quicker? All these little variables you can tweak to make the exercise slightly different. You can even maybe change the sound. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, 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 no. You can even try maybe change things up in that way. But really, it's just changing little things here and there and just seeing if your technique still works. Now, if you're overwhelmed with this idea, because I've just given you all a lot of different kind of things to try, come back to this idea of I just want to challenge my voice slightly every single day. You can challenge it in terms of making it easier. You can challenge it in terms of being more reliable, more consistent, and you can challenge it by doing harder scales as well. Now, what I'll do is I'll actually share some actual examples from my students as well, once again, to help you better understand this idea and also see some ways on how you can implement it into your own practice sessions. In these examples, I do use the term easy wins, but it's basically the same idea as home base. Basically, what are some exercises in which you can feel pretty good about your voice? Okay, so let's dive into this first example. Now, this first one is from a beginner student of mine. And as you can see here, one of the first things we do is we get him to hit random notes in falsetto. The reason why is it just felt easiest for him, right? That was a place in his voice where it just felt easy to access different notes. And so that became a great place to start. Now, the challenge here was just finding a bit more darkness in some of these sounds. No, 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 whoa, 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 because the tendency for the student was to kind of, was getting too bright on sounds that didn't need to. So this was a little challenge for him. And then last but not least, just go into some songs, sing, and have fun. Now, this second example is from a slightly more advanced student, and the routine here was once again quite simple. So we're basically going easy wins, ma 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 ma, just finding these easy top-down mas, because for her, once again, it was easy for her to find clean technique coming top down. The challenge for her was then finding that same feeling or that same ease going bottom up. And so that was the challenge for her. Now, these routines are just a snapshot in time. And because, chances are she's probably going to keep improving daily, then some of the challenges she can set for herself is challenges with consistency. Can she get there 10 times in a row? Can she get there 20 times in a row? Maybe even challenge a harder context. Ma, 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 adding these little things that can make the exercise slightly harder. So these are ways that she can actually build into her own. If not during the following week when we meet up one-on-one again, I would help her set these challenges anyway. And then once again, we jump back into some song work. And in this case, we're choosing a style that we're comfortable with. I wanted her to explore some songs that she doesn't normally do. And so really this is as simple as it can get. You kind of start off with some home-based exercises. What does your voice feel easy and reliable to use? And then afterwards, you would come and you'll challenge your voice in a certain way. Challenging it in terms of the coordination. Can you find an easy way to do things? Challenging in terms of consistency. Maybe even challenging in terms of doing slightly harder exercises, repeating, adding sustains, changing the words, maybe mixing up the words. Whatever you can think of, that's going to be a great way to get started. Anyway, team, I hope this episode was useful. If it did, please do all the usual social media stuff. This really, really helps, and this means really the world to me. If you're from the podcast, leaving a 5-star review would also help this really, really grow. Now, remember, as much as I'm trying to share my best information here, really nothing replaces having a guided ear to help you move along this process faster. This is where private voice lessons can really, really help, or even having the structure of a self-study program, something that is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, when it comes to developing your voice. Once again, if you're interested in that, maybe you want to work with me privately over Zoom, or maybe you want to work through some of the self-study programs I've got, check out some of the links down in the description. Apart from that, team, my name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher. I'll see you every single Thursday or Friday, depending on where you're joining me from. Take care.